Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mossy Smart. Let's jump right into this week's questions. First question comes from James Marley from YouTube. If you could have any Zelda collectible or Zelda merchandise item that doesn't yet exist, what would it be? I'm a big fan of the figurines and statues, and I think it would be really awesome if somebody out there made maybe like little figurines or maybe like clay sculptures. That'd be awesome. Of some of the enemies from the Zelda series. In particular, some of maybe the lesser known or more obscure ones. Like honestly, if somebody out there makes these kind of things and would be willing to go through and make sculptures, maybe little 6-inch sculptures of the enemies from A Link to the Past, for example. That would be amazing. I'd probably pay $200 a piece for them if they were really well done and awesome. So if you do that kind of work, you're interested, that'd be cool. Next question comes from Gaming Media from YouTube. Interesting name. How much do you think Zelda U will have changed since our first look at it back at E3 and the Game Awards? In late 2014, Ijanuma said they were fine-tuning the game, but then it was delayed until 2016. What do you think changed? Honestly, I think this is looking more and more like Twilight Princess 2.0, where the game Twilight Princess was ready to go basically in 2005, but they delayed it to fine-tune it. But it was really, that delay was to add the Wii functionality so that they can simultaneously or almost simultaneously release it on the GameCube and Wii. It's been 10 years, and now I think the exact same thing happened, where I think that Zelda U was ready, or at least close to being ready to go. I think they could have. This is my prediction. I think they could have pushed it to get it done in 2015. But I think they decided that they were going to put it on the Wii, not just the Wii U, but on the NX, and having a dual console release required fine tuning. Maybe. To remove usage of the gamepad or whatever it may be to make it compatible with the new hardware. I really think that is the sole reason why it's delayed, and I do think it's going to be a dual release. And I think other things Nintendo has done in recent times, I kind of feel that they had a whole library of games that they were ready to release in 2015 and inching into 2016, that I think they deliberately delayed some games sort of to fill the void, knowing that all the resources were not going to games that were going to be created for the Wii U. For example, even going as far back as Mario Maker. Not exactly the most elaborate of games, Mario Maker. I know there's a lot of resources put into it, but I mean, that was shown at E3 2014 and didn't release for another 18 months after, or something like that. I think that could have been released earlier in 2015, but they pushed it, knowing Zelda Wii U wasn't coming in 2015. Likewise, Star Fox. I think that could have released last holiday season. They pushed it, now it's releasing this month. And I think they've deliberately moved games so that Wii U owners have a few games sprinkled in, knowing that they're pushing a lot of their work towards the Wii U. Towards the NX. But I think with Zelda Wii U in particular, I think they've already committed to the game being on the Wii U, so they can't just push that to the next console like they might be doing with other games. But I definitely think it's going to be on the NX, and I think the reason for the delay is that. So that being said, I don't think there's going to be fundamental changes to what we saw, almost 2 years ago. But I also think we didn't really see that much. So. Yeah. Next question comes from Zach Nelson from YouTube. What's the worst final boss that you have beaten in a Zelda game? Not sure if this counts, but I'm going to say Ganon from Wanda Gamlon and Faces of Evil. Because you don't really fight them. You don't really fight most of the bosses in those two titles. It's more like it's a scavenger hunt, those games, where you get an item and you use it here. And it's actually, the actual levels and how that game works, the puzzle orient, it's you talk to a character and they need an item. It's not in that area. You have to go to a different town or a different location. You find that item, then you go back to that town. I actually like that system. It was actually kind of cool. It was like the whole game was a trading sequence to an extent. There was some combat, but not much. But the final bosses, you just get an item and you throw it at Ganon, and he's dead. Whether it be the Wand Gamelon or the Book of Court. I don't even remember but it was just you throw the item and they're dead. Not exactly. They're terrible. That's not. Alright, next question comes from Corey Richmond from YouTube. Knowing how much you love A Link to the Past, I want to ask you about A Link Between Worlds, specifically Lorule. Did you feel Lorule was just a gimmicky clone of the Dark World, or do you feel Lorule was implemented well into the game? Honestly, I kind of view A Link Between Worlds. I'm convinced that Nintendo was just remaking A Link to the Past. I really think that is what they were actually going for and what they were doing. Not that I have much to go by, this is just my thought process, just based on how similar the games play. And down the line, after they got the game working with the new graphics and the new engine and all that, I think they felt like, let's tweak it a little bit. And they made some tweaks here, tweaks there. And then I think they eventually said, well, let's just call it a sequel. And let's just make it take place in the same A Link to the Past world, but make it a new adventure, a sequel. And I think that's how A Link Between Worlds came to be. So I kind of view Lorule as the Dark World. And I feel that they made Lorule as if it was the Dark World. And later on, I think when they changed the game, again, just my opinion, where instead of it just being a remake to A Link to the Past, they made it a sequel. They're like, let's not call it the Dark World. We've already gone down that road. Let's make it Lorule. And yeah, because there are so many similarities between Lorule and the Dark World that it's not a coincidence. At least I don't think so. But that being said, no, I made that sound very negative, but A Link Between Worlds is awesome. One of my favorite Zelda games. It's great. Alright, last question comes from B Snags from YouTube. Hey Masies, would you like to see a quest menu in the new Zelda U, like in modern games like Skyrim? I remember reading some of the comments before, and a lot of people were like, Masies, you need to stop talking about Skyrim or making comparisons. Anyway, but I do think there will be some sort of quest menu. And I feel that Nintendo has sort of dipped their toes into the water with this, with Majora's Mask 3D. If you recall, in Majora's Mask, in the 3DS version of Majora's Mask, when you're walking around Clock Town, several of the Bombers kids, they'll run up to you and they'll start they want to talk to you, and they'll give you a hint about a quest for you to complete, and that goes into your quest book. I forgot exactly what it was called in Majora's Mask 3D, but then you can make progress in that quest, and as you do, it might be in the Bomber's Notebook actually, the revised Bomber's Notebook, and then it shows your progress along that quest, and then it gives you a check mark or whatever when it's completed. I think if the game has a lot more side quests and it's more open world, like Skyrim-ish, then I definitely think they're going to do something like that. Now, I haven't played much Skyrim, so I don't know exactly what they did in that sense, but I totally see them expanding on what they did with Majora's Mask 3D with the quest log, and I think that's awesome because I think it helps gamers, players, in particular people who don't usually 100% the Zelda game. It makes them want to play more of the side material that they might not otherwise play, because I think just the nature of having it right there in a menu, well, maybe I don't want to do the main story right now, but there's this going on, and I just got to go over there, talk to that person, and then it just goes down a rabbit hole, and you're doing all sorts of things that are not fundamental to the main quest or the main storyline, but I always 100% Zelda games because I think the side material is fun. And in many cases, I think the side material in Zelda games is actually more fun than the main quest. So, I do think they'll have some sort of side quest log for a quest menu. So, a good question. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week. As always, you can send in your questions by posting them in the comments below at YouTube, at Zelda Informer, or email me at webmaster@zeldadungeon.net. Until next time, take care.